Thank you, Mr. Chairman. General Milley, last week we had General Walters, UCOM commander, testify before us, and he stated that it was his best military judgment that we should reallocate some of our European troops for permanent basing in Poland, Romania, and in the Baltics. In your best military judgment, is that a good deterrent for us to pursue?
I think actual presence is always a good deterrent relative to a given threat as a general rule of thumb. With respect to what General Walters said, I have a slight modification to my view anyway. My advice would be to create permanent bases, but don't permanently station. So you get the effect of permanence by rotational forces cycling through permanent bases. And what you don't have to do is incur the cost of family moves, PXs, schools, housing, and that sort of thing. So you cycle through expeditionary forces through forward deployed permanent bases. And I believe that a lot of our European allies, especially those such as in the Baltics or Poland or Romania or elsewhere, they are very, very willing to establish permanent bases. They'll build them, they'll pay for them, et cetera. And for us to cycle through on a rotational basis, so you get the effect of permanent presence of forces, but the actual individual soldier, sailor, airman, marine are not permanently stationed there for 2 or 3 years.
Great, thank you. Secretary Austin, we had Celeste Wallander in here and asked her about this basing issue and if a decision is close to being made. She said they're working on it. Can you tell me something with more clarity about when we can expect a decision on this basing issue?
As you would expect, Ranking Member Rogers, NATO is going through a process right now to really kind of assess how we expect that the security architecture in the region is going to change for the foreseeable future, or has changed for the foreseeable future. With that in mind, then we'll look to work with NATO to, if NATO deems that it's appropriate to change its footprint, then certainly we'll be a part of that. Our goal is to make sure that we continue to reassure our allies and partners, especially those that are on the eastern flank, and especially our allies that are in the Baltic area, the Baltic region. So this is a work in progress, as Secretary Wallander said, and I suspect that I expect that we'll discuss this as we go into the June summit with NATO.
Great. Well, I can't think of a better signal that we could send to our allies and to Putin that we are committed to NATO than this basing issue. I am concerned that with the budget that it only had one Patriot battery in it, and in my view, we need at least 3. I know we have a manning issue with that, but General Milley, in your opinion, do we need more than one Patriot battery in addition to what we currently have in inventory?
Well, thanks, Congressman. The Patriot is one of those systems that's in huge demand worldwide. We've got 15 battalions, I think it is, in the Army, and one of those is really an experimental type or training unit, so call it 14 for deployment. We've got several spread out in the Middle East, Asia, and in Europe, and they are on a very, very high op tempo, one of the highest in the force. So additional Patriot is always a good thing. Now, having said that, Patriot is extraordinarily expensive, takes a long time to train on it. So one method could be to produce Patriot, sell them to allies and partners. That would be a technique that could work. We've done that in the Middle East. Another one is to produce Patriot and loan them to allied partners and train the soldiers from the other countries, because our soldiers in that particular MOS, we would have to expand the numbers significantly of those troops that man Patriot. But there's a couple of different ways to go about it. But I think Patriot is one of those systems that is definitely worth investing in.
Great. Well, that's what I would like to see us do. I'd like for us to, instead of buying one additional, I'd like for us to buy 3 and then use at least 2 of those along the Eastern European flank on a loan basis and let them man them. But for our needs alone, we need at least one more outside of Eastern Europe. And so I hope the budget that we come up with does reflect that. Last question I'd have, and I know it's hard to answer, but this would be for Secretary Austin. we've just given in this current year, fiscal year, a 6% increase. I know you just got the omnibus bill in the last couple of weeks to fund it. But do you have any idea how you're going to keep up with inflation, given that we just plussed you up by 6%, but we're living in an 8% inflation world?
I would say that this is a very robust budget that we've asked for, and I think Ranking Member Rogers, that we can address our needs with what's in this budget. And clearly, you know, when we snapped the chalk line when we built the budget, inflation was at a different point. But I think this budget gives us the capability to go after the types of things that we believe that we need to support our strategy and give us the warfighting capabilities that we need.
Thank you.
On the Patriot battery issue, I absolutely agree with you. You know, we do need more. If you take a look at what we're doing across the FIDEP, we are going to invest in additional Patriot batteries going forward. We expect to have 3 batteries by the end of 26.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Mr. Langevin is recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank our witness